While a good portion of the national media is still trying to wrap their heads around Brock Purdy and what he is, Mr. Irrelevant, but playing like a top 10 pick, how do we compute? How do we make sense of this? Well, leave that for the people on the outside because Brock Purdy has done absolutely everything for the people inside the building where it really matters. George Kittle joined Jim Rome and talked about basically Brock Purdy and how he's solidified himself as probably one of the team's top offensive leaders when it comes to playing the quarterback position in just his second year. I'm going to let you listen to what George Kittle has to say about Brock, and then we're going to react to it on the other side because, again, it just speaks so well and so highly of Brock that Brock's going to be here for a long, long time. Take a listen to what George Kittle had to say on the Jim Rome Show right here.
Your quarterback, Brock Purdy. How would you describe the chemistry and the rapport you developed with him since he took over as a starter last season?
You know, I think I can speak for everybody on our offense, and we're continually impressed with the things that Brock does all the time, just because of, his consistency every single day, the relationship that he's built with all of our skill players, all the guys that he gets the ball to. It's pretty amazing, and we all feel that comfortability with him. Sorry, and he's just got such a knack with the ball, and also when you have a quarterback that when he steps into the huddle and 10 sets of eyes just snap to him and listen to every single word that he says, whether whether it's the play call, whether it's we got to get this one or whatever it is, he just lifts players up. Our entire offense, he lifts us all up to be playing at a higher level. And when you're lifting up a guy like Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Kyle Juszczyk, Christian McCaffrey, and our whole line, it's just taking us to a whole nother step there. So Brock is, he's the engine, and it's pretty fun to play with him right now.
Dude, that is incredible praise. I can appreciate that.
This is such an underrated aspect of Brock Purdy's game. We all focus on the arm strength, how big he is, the mobility, the physical things, and that is so natural in the evaluation process. But one thing that I am so huge on, especially with quarterbacks, is the interpersonal aspect of the evaluation, basically the psychology aspect of it, because so much of football is rooted in how you process, how you handle adversity, how you interact with others, how you lead others, and no other position is more important than the quarterback position. And think about being Mr. Irrelevant, damn near undrafted, last pick in the draft, and you're the quarterback and you're responsible for telling George Kittle, Trent Williams, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, all these guys who are at the top of their games and veterans in the NFL, what to do and how to do it. Again, I think that's one of the most impressive things about Brock Purdy is his ability to, just like George Kittle said, connect and have a relationship with each one of these skill position players and earned and demand their respect. I think it was David Lombardi who did an article, I think it was a last week or something like that, where Brock told George Kittle to shut the F up in the huddle because George was being George and, just having a good time and being happy-go-lucky guy. And Brock was trying to call the play, and he's just like, George, shut the F up. And George was like, oh, yep, yes, sir. You got it. And just how, a second-year player, let alone a guy who was thrust into this position and just how he's taken it and ran with it has been incredible. It really, really has. And George speaks to that here. You hear the same thing from all the other players. Brock is so consistent as a person that having that as your quarterback, that type of mentality can permeate through how an offense plays. It can permeate through an entire group, an entire unit. When that is your leader, that's the type of personality he brings to the table. He's not sporadic. He doesn't fluctuate up and down and all those different types of things. He's just as steady as they come and has all the respect of all of the all-world players in his huddle. But there's also another little funny nugget from the Jim Rome interview about George Kittle getting his hands on some turkey, because I know we've seen the clip. I think it was a NFL Films clip where Fred Warner and George Kittle, they get done with some interviews and they see on the main table where Christian McCaffrey and Charvarius Ward are at with all the turkey. It's just those two guys, and they're looking at it and they're like, should we go crash? Should we go crash the table? And they're like, Fred and George are kind of talking about it back and forth. And then, anyways, listen to what George Kittle has to say about getting some turkey on the field in Seattle. Take a listen right here.
You had to work on Thanksgiving Day. Not ideal, but did that beating you put on Seattle in their house make it any better? And how good do you feel about the team overall as you head into December?
You know, I will say, I feel like my whole football career, I'm always working on the holidays, you know, especially since college, you know, you're always just kind of grinding through that. And I will say, watching Thanksgiving games my entire life growing up and watching John Madden cut the turkey, it was an honor to play on Thanksgiving, especially with that John Madden patch on there. So we were really happy about that. And also beating Seattle in Seattle is always a great thing. That should always be celebrated. But the fact that it was on Thanksgiving, we got to eat some turkey legs, made it 10 times better.
George Kittle joining us. You know I was going there next. I mean, even though you worked on Thanksgiving, you were not going to be denied some turkey. So you're doing a post-game interview. You've got teammates Christian McCaffrey and Jake Moody there. Next thing you know, you're running for daylight with a platter. Dude, how did you end up with the entire bird?
Well, all the legs were gone. Actually, the sides were actually really tasty, too. Everything was still warm, which I was very impressed with. I had to say that. Shout out to them. But I was about to step away. I was the last guy at the table because I was actually hungry and eating. They're like, hey, do you want the turkey? And I said, you don't have to ask me twice. And so I just had to snag it, and I took off for it. You know, threw a couple legs up to the fans out there. Actually, the first leg I threw out, the fan dropped it. So we'll have to get him back get him in the lab, get him on the jugs machine. But he'll be better next week.
Dude, hit him in a bad spot. Hit him in his hands.
Imagine being the fan who gets thrown a turkey leg and you drop it. Oh my goodness. Just like Kittle says, got to hit the jug machine. But I mean, we've talked about it on this channel. That win, them eating the turkey on their field, was such a cathartic experience because of the early start of the Levi's, days, and the turkey on the 50 and all that type of stuff when Seattle beat us on Thanksgiving. It just felt like the roles were reversed. The curse has been lifted. There wasn't really a curse, but that's kind of what it felt like. And, George Kittle being able to eat turkey on their field and all that different type of stuff. It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome week. And now the San Francisco 49ers turn the page and they got Philly. So it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome of that game is. But what we can say is the San Francisco 49ers are in the perfect spot heading into this game. They have a lot of momentum going into Philly, and they have a lot to prove. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But you guys let me know what you think of what George Kittle had to say about Brock Purdy, the turkey on the field, all that good stuff. Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.